Russia has pulled out of a key nuclear arms control treaty 1 day after the U.S. did the same. Russian President Vladimir Putin also announced Moscow would begin developing new weapons systems and ordered his ministers not to initiate any new disarmament talks with Washington.
Russia's response came quickly. President Vladimir Putin said he was simply doing what the Americans did the day before, halting its involvement in the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, or INF.
Our American partners have announced they are suspending their participation in the deal, and we are also suspending our participation. We will wait until our partners have matured enough to conduct an equal, meaningful dialogue with us on this important topic.
The U.S. decision ended months of speculation. President Donald Trump hinted at a pullout in October last year. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo finally announced the move on Friday.
If Russia does not return to full and verifiable compliance with the treaty within this 6-month period, by verifiably destroying its INF-violating missiles, their launchers, and associated equipment, the treaty will terminate.
This is the weapon that the U.S. is talking about, the Russian-built SSC-8. A missile system Washington and many experts believe has a range of more than 500 kilometers, which would mean it's in violation of the INF Treaty. The Kremlin insists it has not violated the agreement and claims that U.S. anti-ballistic missile interceptors being deployed in Eastern Europe could be violating the terms of the treaty.
Russia's tit-for-tat response shifts the blame for the end of the INF Treaty to the U.S. And even though Vladimir Putin says Russia is ready to talk, it's clear that the threat of a new arms race is real. And some here in Moscow are certainly concerned about that prospect.
It worries me a lot. I'm scared there could be a second Cold War like the one in the Soviet Union.
These missiles, their flight time is only something like 10 or 15 minutes. Then we're wiped out, and they're wiped out. And what for?
I think it's really bad when countries only think of themselves and don't think about the whole world. Two superpowers should sit down and agree on something.
Moscow says it will now work on a range of new high-tech weapons, sparking concern in Russia and in many European countries about the possibility of a new arms race.
For more on this, we are joined now from Moscow by defense analyst Pavel Felgenhauer. Mr. Felgenhauer, now the treaty appears to be officially dead, and Moscow is saying it will work on a range of new types of weapons. What can we expect?
Oh, Russia has been actually building new weapons for some time, at least since the war with Georgia in 2008. When Russia began a massive rearmament program. So right now it's not so much new weapons. They have been developed and are being developed. It's a big campaign that Putin began in last March to promote these weapons and for the West to change its policies towards Russia, because Russia is so strong and so powerful and has all those very, very deadly weapons.
So the Kremlin's strategic aim is to get the West, Washington, namely here, to change its policy. How so?
Well, the Russian attitude has been for a long time that the West should recognize Russia as an equal. I mean, not so much even the West. The United States recognize Russia as an equal, and Europe should recognize Russian military dominance and act accordingly to that. And so Russia has not been changing that policy much at all, and it believes, and Putin at least believes, I don't know, maybe wrongly, that Russia has already achieved military superiority, that it has already won the arms race, and that the West should recognize that and take what Russia wants and give Russia what Russia believes is due, a dominance at least in the eastern part of the continent.
Well, we're just listening to President Putin speak, and he said he would wait until, quoting him, his partners had matured enough to conduct an equal and meaningful dialogue. What's the point of adopting what sounds like a really disrespectful tone in addressing Washington?
Well, that stems from the understanding in the Kremlin, a belief that has been promoted by the Russian generals, that Russia, through this program that lasted for at least 10 years of rearmament, has achieved military superiority. Then that's a fact, and the West should recognize that fact and make political concessions, stop the sanctions, recognize Crimea, recognize Russian dominance in Ukraine, and remove forces from the Baltics and from Poland. And there's a long list of what Russia wants.
Okay. Defense analyst Pavel Felgenhauer in Moscow, thank you for those insights.